I started playing Valorant roughly 6 months ago. I had no previous PC FPS experience, and I had no idea what I was doing. I died. A lot. But over some time, I got coaching from my friends and got better.
God damn.
And by the end of about 4 months, I was solidly in Plat 1. And then I got stuck. My forward progress that had felt so smooth and natural before was gone. I felt demotivated, and for a while I even moved on from the game to play others. But I never lost that itch to play Valorant again, to try grinding the ranked queue. I'd had experience playing competitively in other games, mainly Rocket League, where I'd even hit the Grand Champion mark. The competitive nature in me burned bright, and I wanted to play Valorant again. Except this time I wanted to try something different. Instead of mindlessly bashing my head against the wall until something worked like I had in the past, I wanted to learn what I could do outside of just aiming and movement to increase my chances of winning. And maybe I could even get past my hard-stuck Plat 1 ranking. So I decided to do something different. I decided to become a hardcore controller main, forcing myself to really learn and understand the game in the process. I wanted to utilize every aspect that made a good support character so that I could better help my team to win games, rather than just focusing on trying to win games as an individual. This was a completely different mindset for me. So I did the logical thing and turned to the Grandmaster Law Teacher's YouTube for guidance. It was there that I learned about this wonderful thing called molly lineups. They took no actual technical skill to master, rather opting for strict memorization and clean execution to maximize effectiveness. I'm a college student. I know how to memorize things, and memorize things I did. I started this challenge on the new act and had some fun with the new additions to the game.
Yes, I want the $25 blue knife.
I queued up my first ranked game of the act with a friend with the intention of learning molly lineups with Brimstone on the fly. The map we got into was Haven. I scrambled to find a video on YouTube that would show me some lineups that I could use to my advantage. I was optimistic, but this was going to be more difficult than I first thought. To my frustration, I wasn't able to use any lineups over the course of the game. I had learned them from a video, but I didn't find any opportunities to utilize what they brought to the table. This forced me to learn something though. Lineups may not be technically skilled, however your movement and positioning to get into place to use lineups is incredibly important, and my Platinum 1 ass lacked both of those things. On the bright side, I did get to shorty Reyna in the face.
Spike planted.
Luckily for me, my team was good, and I played well enough to win that Haven matchup without needing any lineups. And while I didn't get to actually use lineups in that specific game, over the course of the next few games playing controller, I learned a lot. As an initiator main, I didn't often take too much time to think about positioning. A lot of my strategy was flash, swing, hold W, or some iteration of that.
Where are you? Still waiting.
That's bad timing.
Last player
Ouch,
standing.
my bad.
I realized that playing a controller, you have to be much more careful. You don't have utility to allow you to just swing corner like an initiator, and you don't have an escape option like a duelist. And while the lack of these things may make a lot of people shy away from playing controllers, I was beginning to understand a better pace of the game. I was starting to understand more about the enemy, where they were, how they played, and how to play around them. To put it simply, I was becoming a game sense-based player, whereas before I was mechanically based. Instead of just trusting myself to outduel someone in an aim gunfight, which, to be honest, I don't even have very good aim to start with, I instead was trying to think tactically about what I was doing, why I was doing it, and how I could gain an advantage in any situation. And really trying to control the game, which, after all, is the goal of a controller. Stepping into this role seemed to help me some, but of course it didn't stop me from being stupid at times and having bad games. But again, progress. I was now at the point where I was playing controller on almost every single map. Sure, there were a few where I didn't necessarily play controllers. On Fracture I would play Breach, and on Bind I'd play my old main Fade. Some habits just die hard. But on every other map I would insta-lock either Brimstone or Viper. I never thought of myself as an insta-locker or a controller main, but here we are. Things were starting to go better for me. I had lineups for most sites at this point, and I was beginning to gain a solid understanding of how to play controller beyond just lineups. Smokes are vitally important too, and I felt that I was doing a much better job of using them effectively. And while my inexperience shone at times, I managed to clutch some games, and I even ranked up to Plat 2 for the very first time. And while I wasn't sure I could hold it for very long, I felt that I was finally making a bit of progress towards developing my skills in the game. At this point, I had been grinding Valorant and playing controller for a bit more than a week. I was playing more than I ever had previously and was really enjoying myself as I slowly clawed at the ranked ladder. But I found myself a bit stuck still. I was playing well and sat in this awkward ranked space in between Platinum 1 and Platinum 2. I felt as though I could play at a Platinum 2 level. I was getting better for sure, and that should reflect in my rank, right? Wrong. At least for the moment. I had more training to do. I started warming up before my games, playing death matches, something I had foolishly not done before, and I found myself hitting a lot of shots that I previously thought I couldn't. And then I had a small breakthrough. We were down 8-0 on Breeze. It was looking like a typical blow-up match that you occasionally get in Valorant, where nothing goes your way and you just get stomped. Team morale was low, and our chances of winning even lower. But we were determined to finish out the match. Forfeiting was something that I rarely do in games, even when the odds are long.
Why are we just feeding into the Oh, they're in cave already.
That makes
Might
just
not
as
be
loud of a
far
noise.
enough.
Yeah, but it's not the noise, because it tells him. What the f***? That sees me?
That's a bit dumb.
That's tragic.
Oh
Okay.
my god! Okay.
What the f***?
Okay, Evan.
What did I
Look
just
at the camera, but okay.
Holy shit.
While this clutch was far from the prettiest thing in the world, it was vitally important for our team morale, and likely not something I'd be able to pull off even just a month ago. And after putting up a few more wins on the attack, we blitzed the other team on defense, and stormed back to win 12-10 in a miraculous fashion.
Wow. We actually just came back from a 9-0.
This game would put me back into Plat 2, and this time, I wouldn't relinquish it so easily. In the following week, I had what was maybe my best week of Valorant to date. I was shooting more accurately, my positioning was greatly improved, and I was making less and less of the stupid mistakes that had plagued me in the past. Playing controllers and lineups had helped me immensely. I was dying less and learning more, picking up kills and clutches on the way, and securing rounds for my team. I was contributing far more, and while I wasn't always on the top of the leaderboard, I was putting maximum effort into helping my team as a whole, and it showed. I breezed through Platinum 2, winning 8 out of my 10 ranked games, and playing well in the games that we lost. And suddenly, I found myself in Platinum 3. Holy shit, dude, I'm Plat 3. That's crazy. I never thought I would even get close to Diamond. When I started this challenge, my hope was to hit Platinum 2 by the end of the month. And maybe, just maybe, I could crack Platinum 3. I was, frankly, dumbfounded to be in the position I was just 2 weeks into my challenge. At times, I felt like an imposter in my rank, like I didn't belong, but overall I was surviving, playing well, and doing my job as a controller, and I started to look longingly at Diamond, a rank that I thought was well out of my reach just 2 weeks ago. It was here that I was sadly forced to put my goals aside for a moment, and I took about a week-long break from playing Valorant. University caught up with me, and I wasn't able to dedicate time to the game in a way that I wanted. And in a way, taking a break was good for me. It prevented burnout from the game, and allowed me to reassess what I was doing and how to better achieve my goal of hitting Diamond. Unfortunately, after taking a break, my linear progression I had seen before became a lot more sporadic. I'd lose 4 games in a row, some of these to bad luck, such as teammates disconnecting, and others due to my own misplays. But I didn't give up, and I won another 4 games in a row to go back up to my previous rank. At this point, I wouldn't say that I was necessarily close to Diamond, but I was a lot closer than I had been previously. And it was here that I had another warning moment. Something I recognized that I was doing a lot, partially when editing this video even, was dying with a lot of my utility in my pocket. When you watch professional Valorant players, they almost always use all of their utility before dying, or at least most of it. To say the least, I was not doing that. and I was constantly dying with utility in my pocket that could have saved my life had I been smarter using it. With this recognition, I tried to be smarter with my utility, using more of it and really trying to gain advantages with it. I had a goal of using all of my utility every round, and while this obviously isn't always obtainable and had some slight drawbacks of me focusing a little too much on throwing utility down, I overall was becoming much more effective with my utility, especially on defense. I was able to stall pushes and give my team time to get into position, and even if I did eventually get run down, I was normally able to make a situation so chaotic and just generally terrible for the attacking team that my teammates could come in and clean up. I now had another piece of the puzzle of what it takes to play controller effectively. Good stalling utility on defense and good post plant and entry utility on offense was extremely important. Despite all of my learning and feeling like I was making good progress in my understanding of the game, I wasn't ranking up anymore. I was stuck in Platinum 3. Maybe this was due to my relative inexperience in games like Valorant, or maybe I'd hit the peak of how far I could go with mostly game sense based mechanics. Maybe I needed to start working on my aim more, or begin learning how to best build synergy with my team. It could have been a lot of things, but in my last week of this challenge, try as I might, I could not hit Diamond. I got very close, far closer than I'd ever thought or hoped I would, but I wasn't able to hit it. And while this was obviously disappointing to me, it leaves me with a goal for the future. At the same time, playing controller impacted my gameplay for the better, and will continue to help me rank up in the future. I became more aware of what was happening on the map, how to help my teammates, I died far less, and came up with big plays a lot more often. And overall, as cliche as it sounds, I learned how to be a better player. And even if I couldn't hit Diamond off of it, it still reflected in my new rank of Platinum 3. Sure, it isn't the best, far from it, but I was happy with it. Content with my progress for the time, but eager to progress in the future.